And it looks like we are underway. This should be a very exciting match. And we have a hook shot at Link's house already. Looks like Fricker is going to be heading to escape, and Keku is going to head to the village. It looks like neither runner is opting to Chris Houlihan at the start of the seed. Correct, would you be able to explain to our chat why a runner would want to Chris Houlihan at the start of a seed?
So at the beginning of a open mode seed, you're looking for two things: some rupees and some bombs. If you go to the Chris Houlihan room, which is a dev room from getting its name from a player that won a contest, over 20 years ago, you go and you get immediately 225 rupees. But our runner's probably making a good choice because Fricker found 300 rupees and the lamp in Escape, so he is pretty well stocked for the beginning of the seed here.
The biggest advantage to going to the Chris Houlihan room early is that you'll guarantee you'll have bombs in Kakariko, and it can allow for some very early Zora checks. Especially if you find an early Moon Pearl, it can incentivize the fake flipper so you can hit Zora and go to the Waterfall of Wishing all in your first trip there, and it can save a lot of time. And we do have bombs in the Lost Woods, so the early game appears to be quite giving. And we also had a lantern early, so you will not see any dark rooms today.
And this hookshot could actually be a pretty big advantage for Fricker22 if he knows all the different things that he can hook along and just pull himself along and speed up his movement here in the early game.
Absolutely. I feel a lot of new runners forget about the hookshot as a means of faster movement, including myself. We have one of the 4 bottles as the lumberjack item, so if that is the only bottle that's available early, there is a small chance that we may see Aga 1, but it's very small. At this point, if you see the runners going up Aga 1, it would be to get Dark World access, which is a lot more common in this logic than it is in previous logics.
And it looks like kekumanshoyu is going to the bombable hut here and collecting bombs. So each time you go in there, you can grab 4 bombs and maybe some loot from the rats.
This is a great play, considering that he does not have bomb money. And that early 300 rupees is going to make quite a difference. One more 300 rupee, or even a 100 rupee and a 50 rupee between the dam and a mini Moldorm cave could allow for a very early Zora check. I do like Keku's choice of sprite here.
Yeah, we have Dark Link versus a Moogle. I'm a fan of both sprites in this match.
So far we've seen 100 rupees in the village, and we have a Lord Banana on Fricker's side. So overall, the seed looks pretty generous with money, so the Chris Houlihan room would have been the wrong choice in this seed, but there are plenty of seeds out there where it is right to go there. We have a flute early. Very nice to see this early on in the seed, and a bottle, so the entire Kakariko village will be able to be checked, and the only thing that they could potentially have to come back to here is the library.
Yeah, and in the village itself, there was pretty much just the flute, it seems. But Fricker22 got the the hookshot and the lamp from Link's house and the uncle. So they do have a good set of starting items. We'll see where they get their next haul from.
And that hookshot is going to make Mini Moldorm Cave a lot less stressful. Going in there with just bombs is not fun, and get your swag ducks in for Fricker22 and soon to be Keku as soon as he gets this activated, which he looks like he's going to do right about now.
And both of our runners are remembering to activate their flute. Sometimes it is difficult to remember when you get it right away, and it might not be in your selected in your inventory.
Early flute is going to make routing decisions matter quite a bit in the early games because of the fast travel, as well as just it opens up so many locations.
Now, hopefully, Keku does save and quit back to Link's house, so he picks up his hook shot prior to exploring the South Shore with that flute, because it would make it a lot easier for him.
I don't see him not doing that, because you would save and quit to Link's house after clearing out the village anyway, right after race game, because you're going to the dam anyway. It looks like we have a map check. I didn't quite see all of it, but we have a big crystal at Hera, small crystal at Desert, and a pendant at Eastern. So hopefully we'll see another map check to get a better glimpse on what those are.
And Fricker is opting to reload his bombs before he leaves Kakariko. That's a great play. He was down to 4, and he has the hook shot, but nothing else for weapons.
Keku making a smart play here to return to Link's house with the flute, which is much faster than a save and quit. Because of the early flute, you will see a lot fewer save and quits. Looks like Keku is heading up to escape.
Yeah, we'll see if he just checks the uncle like Fricker did, or if he actually heads in.
I actually like to do both of these at once, especially with the lantern. I'm a big fan of, with lantern and some kind of weapon.
Yeah, using the hookshot to stun and the bombs he has stocked up on would make quick work of escape.
And he's in the area.
Yeah, and if they get a small key in the first 4 chests, then they can get to the back.
So it'll be interesting if there is a sword or some other important item in the basement of the castle, that one chest that no one likes to seem to check. And we have silvers at the dam, so we will not be seeing any silverless Ganon fights tonight.
And it's definitely always nice to find that early.
Great hookshot clip from Fricker. That is not the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm a really big fan of this play Keku is making to go get escape out of the way. I've seen a number of runners in the tournament put off escape for longer than they should, and then there's something important there.
Yeah, and particularly in this situation where they don't really have a permanent weapon yet, and they got the lamp early, this is a very good play.
We have a fire rod and a cape on Fricker's side. So with that early cape, you always have to keep Aga 1 in mind, because it could be the only way to get to the Dark World.
Yep, and we also have that lamp.
And the hook shot would also allow, not by itself, but it would allow easy access to a lot of the Dark World with one of many other items, such as a lift upgrade, a hammer, or even flippers. It would be really interesting to see early flippers as well to require swimming into the river east of the pyramid as the only way to get access. But my hopes are dashed as we have a lift upgrade in Ice Rod Cave.
So this might actually make Fricker go to the back of Escape pretty soon.
And Keku is going to Sanctuary, so it looks like he is going to leave that chest in the sewer basement alone for now, and that is something that could come back to bite him long term. And it appears that we have Crystal 2 at Desert, and it is a non-green pendant at Eastern. We have Fricker heading to Escape as well, so it'll be interesting to see if he checks that basement chest. Keku making a play on Death Mountain with a hook shot. With a hook shot in hand, this is a pretty good play. There's a lot of items you can get access to here. He will have to take the Walk of Shame due to having no boots, if he chooses to check Spiral Cave right away.
Yes, it's also a long walk up this Spectacle Rock, but I would expect him to do every item location while he's up here.
We have a shovel as the old man item. That could be the start of a fetch quest.
Yeah, and Keku is getting really beat up by those cabbages, but it looks like he'll be alright.
Spectacle Rock has nothing useful. Nothing useful inside of Spectacle Rock. It's been a long time since I've seen the item inside Spectacle Rock Cave actually be useful.
And it really takes you by surprise when it is. You have to usually like double take and go back.
As opposed to the previous tournament, which used the 18 logic. The 18 logic seemed to bias important items at that location, which was very interesting. And speaking of interesting, Fricker22 has a big decision to make. Is he going to check that basement chest and escape? He is not.
He might be opting to check it from the back, since he did pick up the power gloves in the Ice Rod Cave.
That is entirely possible. That's another thing that's very easy for new runners to forget about. But it really depends on the positioning of that key.
And if he doesn't find a key back here, then he knows it is in its vanilla location.
Very true. And we have a stick in Escape. I am very sure Fricker is happy to see that.
Oh wow, we have a mirror and a hammer on Keku's side in Paradox Cave.
So this seed is looking like it could open up very quickly, and it could open up in two different ways. Nice bomb jump as well. That bomb jump's not easy to learn. It's relatively easy once you know the visual cue, but it can be difficult to learn.
Yeah, and honestly, I think almost everybody still messes it up once in a while.
Just an arrow upgrade. And with that hammer, that also will allow Keku to go into Hera, which is a great play. He has a lantern, and he has a sword. Or, no, he doesn't have a sword yet, but he does have a hammer, so he should be able to finish this dungeon. It may be a little bit difficult to fight Moldorm with just a hammer, but if he's going in here, then it seems he's pretty confident.
Yeah, that's definitely a fight that takes a little bit of practice, because a lot of people learn Moldorm by holding their sword out so they can't fall, but when you're trying to hit with the hammer, that's not something you can do.
And the hammer's hitbox is off-center from Link's sprite, which is a big reason why a lot of people have trouble fighting with that hammer. It looks like we see Fricker making a play for Eastern, finds a bottle. So we have two very divergent paths here. Given how many locations this flute has opened up, and both players finding very useful items, it could be difficult to determine who is actually ahead until the end of this race.
Yeah, I think it'll be a very long time before the routes converge at this point. And Keku taking a death, but he has a fairy in a bottle.
That will typically happen when you're off-center in trying to perform the glitch with the rising blocks to have infinite iframes. As long as you're square on the block, you shouldn't have any difficulties.
Fricker is making his way up.
He is on Death Mountain, so he's about to discover the plethora of items that are up here. And he may have an advantage in the early going until Keku goes back to escape to pick up that sword.
Yeah, and since we know that the key is in the back, Keku will actually have to make their way to Ice Rod Cave, which is a place that people tend to put off if they don't go there early.
He has a flute. There's no reason not to go there. It's super quick to go there. One of the big reasons not to check Ice Cave is if you don't have a flute, but once you have the flute, you can check Ice Cave whenever you want.
That's very true.
$300 in the big chest in Hera. A lot of money in the seed, so checking Zora will not be a problem for the runners, and if they feel the need, especially if mail upgrades are hard to come by, potion money will be plentiful.
And they have found 2 bottles already to put those potions in.
Fricker picking up his mirror and hammer, and I expect he will follow in Keku's footsteps and get Hera out of the way. And it will be interesting to see Fricker has an easier time with Moldorm with his sword. That was a beautiful kill on Keku's side. Hammer killing Moldorm is not easy.
That was textbook. That was a great fight.
And $50 for Moldorm, so nothing but cash in Tower of Hera.
So I think our runners are starting to run out of places in the logic that we haven't seen between one of them. We have Agonist Cave that is yet to be checked, and Zora.
I think the play here, if I were playing the seed, after I got done with Death Mountain, we have a red cane in Spiral Cave. As a runner, I am not happy to see an early red cane, because that can mean a lot of crazy things happening Dark World side. For instance, very early Turtle Rock visits, they're just missing Mitts and Ice Rod to complete Turtle Rock, so it could be possible that there is an item buried in there.
And they're just missing Mitts and whatever medallion for Meyer as well.
So we could see an early Meyer or an early T-Rock dive. At this point, after finishing Death Mountain, I think the play is one of two things. You either go in Eastern, or you go to Aga 1, and it looks like Keku is probably going to Aga 1.
He has not picked up a sword yet, so I don't know if he is checking maybe the back here, and he looks like he's going to the sewer chest from this side.
That's entirely possible, because if he goes in from this side, won't he be able to... I've never actually had this come up in a seed. Would he be able to mirror back to the entrance to the castle after checking all those chests, or does going into the sewers set his mirror spot to the room that he just passed through?
It goes all the way back to the castle, but unfortunately he will get blocked here because he doesn't have the key yet, and this is an arrow upgrade, I believe.
That's unfortunate. Then he's going to find that out, that he has no key to get through this door. And he will need to... He's going to need to make his way back to... Ice Rod Cave. And if he flutes to 8, which it looks like he is, this is brilliant. He's going to flute to 8, pick up these gloves, and probably go straight back to the castle.
Yeah, that would be the best play to make. I would imagine after that he will be checking out Eastern Palace, trying to find that Moon Pearl.
We still can't rule out that Moon Pearl is... the Moon Pearl isn't on the Pyramid Ledge, which is not a fun place to have that thing.
Yeah, progression on the pyramid used to be a much more common occurrence in V18, but it still shows up from time to time here in V26.
And Chad is correcting me that Keku has not gone to the dam in the South Shore yet. It would be a very interesting play for either of them to go to the desert cave, but I don't foresee any of these players making that except as a last resort. And because there's no value in going to desert, you can look at one item and then obtain another one. They have no way into desert at this point.
Yeah, that would definitely be the last check they make, and because of that flute, it would be a fairly quick check, but there are better options available. We do have a question in chat. Were there various relevant versions between V18 and V26? There were all the versions that in between there. They all had a little bit of intricacies, their own little, just places that you'd find items. I think V23, you never found swords until Ganon's Tower, so that one didn't last very long.
Oh, and everybody hated 21 except me. Keku needs to be really careful. He's down to half a heart. Looks like he's trying to set up Fake Flipper. Yes, it looks like he's trying to set up Fake Flipper. Fake Flippering using this method can be quite difficult. One thing that I find about this method that helps with it is if you're a Zelda 1 player, if you play the Zelda 1 randomizer, it's very similar in concept to a screen scroll. We do have Bombos on the Lake Hylia Islands, so if that item ends up being required, the runners will need to return there.
Yeah, that's nice knowledge for Keku to have at this point. I'm getting the reverse Fake Flipper out of Hobo. Still down to that half of a heart, and if Keku is planning to go to Zora, they will just have to be careful dodging these Zoras and the fireballs as they make their way to King Zora.
Because Keku already has used his fairy in a bottle, and he has no bug net and no powder, so he has no easy way to get fairies.
Despawned the crab, so that worked out for him.
I do like making this play before going to Aga 1, though. But Aga 1 is not a possibility for him because he does not have a sword, and that sword is not in exactly the easiest place to get to if you don't do an early Ice Rod Cave check. He does have the glove now, so he does have the capability to make it back to escape, and I could easily see him checking that as soon as he checks Zora, and we have a good return for sale. Keku making the play to desert.
I don't think he checked. Yeah.
Not checking the ledge. That's interesting. And what do we have in the cave? We have just some love. So Keku is running very short on options. Eventually, he's going to need to realize he needs to go to the 3 chests underneath the graveyard and get that sword, and then probably go to Aga 1. I am thinking this Moon Pearl is on the pyramid.
I'm still thinking Eastern Palace, but Pyramid could definitely happen. Oh, they have the shovel. Then I don't think either runner has checked that yet.
True, and Keku is headed there. He might be checking the dig item. If this is the Moon Pearl, that could give him a big advantage. Looks like he is indeed headed to the Grove.
My only concern is that if it is the Moon Pearl, how long will it be before he remembers the back of escape to pick up that sword?
And just a bomb upgrade. Making a trip to buy potions now. That's very interesting. Very interesting decision.
But we are saving the save and quit the Sanctuary, so it looks like he may have remembered the sewer drop here.
Does he even have any other options at this point? I don't think he does. I think he's checked everything else.
I don't think he's been into Eastern Palace yet, but other than that...
True. Neither one of the runners have been there. But Eastern Palace at this point, it's a decent play, but it looks like you'll probably need to go to Aga 1 to get a route to the Dark World anyway, unless we see... Oh wait, no, that's wrong. They do have hammer and a lift upgrade, so as soon as they find the Moon Pearl, they'll be able to get into there that way. But it would be pretty crazy if the Moon Pearl was at the Pyramid Ledge. So it looks like Keku is going to Eastern Palace, which, given that he does have Dark World access as soon as he it gets the Moon Pearl. This is a good play.
And given their items, it still could be the case that the Moon Pearl is on the pyramid. That would be fairly troll, given they have the glove and the hammer already, but could definitely happen. And Carissa in chat asking, what if the pyramid has some other item, at least the Moon Pearl? That could also happen. The Book of Medora could lead them into desert to get the Moon Pearl, for instance.
I've certainly seen the Moon Pearl in some nasty spots, even in races in my own group.
Or here's a good one. The pyramid could have Titan's Mitts, which leads you to Checkerboard Cave for the Moon Pearl.
That's entirely possible too, and that could make it very difficult to find. But this Eastern play is good. In this logic, I'm a big fan of going to Eastern as soon as you check after you check the vault behind Sahasrara, even if Eastern is a pendant, because this logic tends to put a lot of required items in Eastern. Running out of locations to check in Eastern. I think we just have 2 chests left. 3 if there's a big key.
Yeah, and since they do have the lamp, they will be able to find the big key within the logic, but they might only find one more item. And the last one being locked behind Armos.
There's the big key, so they'll be able to check the big chest quickly. Vanilla Bow would be pretty funny. There's the Moon Pearl in the big chest in Eastern, so Aga 1 not required because we do have a Dark World access. I do like this play to check the last chest, though.
Absolutely. While you're here, to see if an item's in there, having to backtrack and finding a required item here would be a huge time loss.
I saw many, many people learning that the hard way in last year's tournament. Or rather, the spring tournament. And we have a sword upgrade. That's very valuable. And Keku is going to immediately flute back to Link's house and get into the Dark World. And with a hammer and a hook shot, he has... Interesting, he's going this way to get there. This is a good play, too. Either way will allow him access.
Yeah, some runners like to do the Village Outcast, Thieves Town, Skullwoods play first, and some like to check Hype Cave right away when they have the hammer access. Both of them are good plays. There's just a matter of preference by different runners.
It is almost runner preference. The 2 routes end up being relatively even. It depends a lot on your confidence with dungeons, but both of these runners should not be afraid of Skullwoods or Thieves Town with Master Sword and their health situation. Really, once you have less than 8 hearts and green mail is when early Dark World dungeons like Skullwoods and Thieves Town tend to get a little dicey, especially if you haven't completed a low percent run before. That's one thing that I do recommend to aspiring Link to the Past randomizer players, is if you haven't done it, finish a playthrough of low percent, no major glitches. It will make you a lot better at the randomizer.
We have Quake in the bombable hut here. Not sure if it's required yet, but it's a check mark on one of the medallions.
Looks like Keku is not confident in going into either of the 2 dungeons, and I don't believe we've seen a map check from him yet either, so we don't even know if they're pendants or crystals. Looks like he wants nothing to do with dungeons until he finds some defense.
I'm not sure if he checked the C-shape house either.
He did not check the C house. And we've seen many, many races where leaving a loose square has come to bite runners, and it can bite runners very hard. Keku, you're not going to be able to lift that rock. You don't have any mitts. Oh, that mine.
Yeah, whenever you get a mine, or even worse, a guard pops up and starts trolling you.
So the question is, will we see the Skullwoods or Thieves Town play this time? This is actually one of those situations where it might actually be better to try clearing out Thieves Town and Skullwoods, because it can be a bit of a long trip to get back into the Dark World.
And I think since he was coming back, he was trying to come back up towards the Village of
Oh, we do have a
Outcasts.
map check. Turtle Rock is red pendant. We have Pod as green pendant. And we have important crystal at Swamp Palace. So T-Rock will at least not be required in terms of a crystal.
Yep,
But
and it does look like Keku is trying to finish off Thieves Town. So
yes, he will be going into Thieves Town. I do like this play. It is a crystal. But at this point, after seeing how early the runners have had Thieves Town access, it'll be interesting to see if any of them do make the Turtle Rock play. And we have flippers. Flippers will allow Keku to go into a Swamp Palace once he is done making the rounds of the Southwest Dark World. Which is great.
He has the full Swamp Palace kit, so it'll be interesting to see how long it takes him to make that play, but that would be a good one to make.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Swamp Palace is very fast in Go mode, but with the current logic, it's pretty rare to actually be in Go mode before going into Swamp Palace, because 6 items makes it pretty lucrative.
And we got a quick glimpse of one of the better bunny sprites in the game.
Keku thrilled to find powder, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely one of the greatest safety items in the game.
Oh, absolutely, especially in Thieves Town. Doing powder with low health, or doing Thieves Town without powder and low hearts can be a real nightmare.
Yeah, there's the anti-fairy right in the hellway, and there's also a bunny beam that's sitting under the pot by where Blind is in the cell. So just a couple nice places to refill your hearts. And one here right before the Hellway, too.
And even if Thieves Town is a pendant, it's usually a pretty good play to come in here early just because of the way the logic places items. Generally, the earlier you have access to a dungeon, the more likely it is to contain a progression item from the seeds that I've played.
Yeah, that's generally a true statement. Every once in a while, you end up getting trolled, but that is definitely a good play to make. And Keku did get a little trolled by the crickets upstairs, but with that powder, right back to full.
This dungeon is so dangerous with no armor and no powder.
And making really nice use of the hookshot to speed up the movement through here.
And he does have the hammer, so he will be able to check the big chest. That's another reason why a runner may want to avoid Thieves Town early, is not having a hammer can make a loose square that can be very difficult to get back to. And if there's a required item in that big chest, it can be a real bear to track down.
So I know I saw at least 3 items, but he must have found all 4.
He probably found all 4 if he didn't check the big chest. There's no reason not to check that big chest if you're missing an item. This looks like a nasty pattern Keku's dealing with blind. And he gets there.
Yeah, and that is his second crystal, so he's making good progress throughout the seed here.
Absolutely. I think the play from here is to make your rounds with Southwest Dark World, leaving off at Swamp Palace, and that also gives you the chance to go straight to the bomb shop to check Double Chested Fairy.
So I am concerned because he just walked right in front of the sea house without going inside, so hopefully there is nothing required in there for him.
He may be going back in there to check it, because now he realized he doesn't have the mitts. And it does look like he is heading back there, thankfully. Yes, he's going in. Just some love. Checking North Dark World, very interesting this early on.
He does have the cape and the mirror. He doesn't have the boots, so he'll be missing a couple locations that he can mirror to, but a couple good spots to check here.
And it can be very easy to forget about this when you have better options, such as dungeons. It looks like he was just checking the magic cape spot. He may be trying to save those 2 locations to route with Catfish later. Because when you have locations to check on the way to it, Catfish is a much less feel bad target to check. I do like the Skullwoods play. Skullwoods is one of the locations that, as far as I've seen, has been biased to have important items in it.
Yeah, and the front half of Skull does not take long to check, and
not at all. We have a
bow.
D. We have a D in Skullwoods, so this is actually going to allow Keku to add Palace of Darkness and Eastern if he feels it's necessary to go in there. Palace of Darkness at this point would be a pretty bold play because it is a pendant, but it is a green pendant, so it's a potential 6 items, and he would be right there to turn the green pendant in as well.
Yeah, Eastern, Skullwoods, Swamp Palace, and Pod are all fully clearable right now.
Looks like Keku is going the back way to check the big chest in Skullwoods. He may not be comfortable with a bomb jump. It's not an easy bomb jump either. It's one of the easier ones, but it's still not easy. And it doesn't take terribly long to go the back way, so if you don't get the bomb jump in the first couple of tries, may not be worth it. And it looks like he is going to continue on. I don't blame him at all. He has everything he needs to clear this dungeon, and he has plenty of hearts.
And he did pick up that blue potion, so he does have some safety as well.
Still no book, so we may not see what's at the pedestal for a while. Not quite sure why Keku picked up that key. He doesn't need it.
It's probably just a force of habit. Every time you go through, you get the key. Looking at the items, it looks like we're just searching for the mitts and our way into Meyer and possibly the boots.
I would be awful nervous about not having boots at this point. We do have a shield upgrade for Keku in the Lost Wood, or not the Lost Woods, Skullwoods. That is on the other side of the light dark. Looks like Keku is going to take the natural route through this room.
I just want to top off hearts and magic.
Because Skullwoods can be a bit difficult without a difficult process of magic management without half magic. Because having magic for Mothula helps out tremendously.
Yeah, especially when you're sitting on Master Sword. The Master Sword Slash and the Fire Rod do the same amount of damage. You need 8 combined on Mothula.
And this is one of those boss fights where if Mothula gives you a bad pattern, even the best of players can have a lot of trouble. I don't think Keku has a fairy, does he? Oh, he does have one. There's so much to watch out for in this fight. And I don't think he has another one, so yes, he will be going back to the start of this dungeon. And especially when you're on fire rod strats. It can be pretty brutal dying to Mothula because you get sent back to the main entrance to Skull Woods with no magic. And without half magic, you need half a bar to light all the torches with the fire rod.
According to the tracker, he does have a B, which actually does damage Mothula, although it is like fighter sword damage.
That is true, but every time I've tried to see a runner use the B on Mothula, it just tends to knock the boss into the spikes, which will negate any damage that is dealt.
It's more of a panic strat to let you try to just dodge and hope things work out.
Certainly not something you want to have to rely on. I believe he still does have a blue potion. He may be trying to save it. Well, not now. But it's definitely a good idea to pop any potions if it will save a death, because it's very quick to return to the witch's hut to get more potions, and money is so plentiful in the seed that you could go buy 4, 5, 6 potions, which should be more than enough to finish the game.
And he does get Mothula down, and he's collecting his 3rd crystal. As we mentioned before, he does have 1 more crystal that he can full clear in Swamp Palace, and 2 pendants in Eastern and Palace of Darkness. I do believe he's cleared Eastern of items.
He has. If you don't find anything important in Swamp, you really have to consider going into Palace of Darkness. Normally, Palace of Darkness is accessible fairly early, so it has a higher chance of having something important. But with this seed, you do have to keep those later dungeons in mind. Especially if there's a mitt in Swamp Palace, then I'm certain that Turtle Rock will be weighing on the back of his mind. Not a place he wants to go, but a place that you definitely need to consider.
I find that if the bow and the lamp both show up fairly early in the seed, then pod can be a very good play because the whole top is available in the logic.
And even if you don't have a bow, if you have a hammer, even just taking a peek into Palace of Darkness could be a good idea, because if you get bow blocked in Palace of Darkness, it's usually pretty early. There's one chest that you're guaranteed to be able to get to without a bow. But he is making the Swamp Palace play, so it'll be interesting to see if Keku goes to the west side of Swamp Palace. I imagine he will.
Yeah, if he finds the mitts early in here, he might just finish it off and then go see what he needs for Meyer. But I do think a full clear is more than likely.
Because with that hammer, he could get to Palace of Darkness very quickly just by fluting to 5. So going into Meyer as soon as you find the mitts to check the medallion requirement for it would be a pretty prudent play, especially since you know where one of the medallions is.
That's true. He knows that one is on the Lake Hylia Island, so really it's only one medallion that he would still be searching for.
The other reason why you'd want to check the dungeons with more items at this point, even if there's nothing required, is that a sword upgrade could be very useful, and we have a riot shield as well.
And that might make you think more about Turtle Rock.
Well, they already have the cape, so the logic... So that won't actually make a difference in the logic, but it definitely does bring Turtle Rock to the runner's attention.
Exactly. It doesn't change the logic at all, but it does play games with your mind a little bit when you're running it.
And we saw Keku almost flood the key, too. And speaking of Turtle Rock, once you find the mitts, Dark Death Mountain is a good place to check. But do you check Turtle Rock while you're up there?
I think first I go and check what medallion I need for Meyer, and then check and see if Desert is boots locked. If neither of those, if we have access to both, then we would be in go mode, except for the torch item in Ganon's Tower, so I wouldn't worry about it. But if we're looking for the boots, I definitely go into Turtle Rock, because the boots are always in there.
I've seen boots in there, I've seen the flute in there, I've seen lantern in there before. I've seen really crazy things in Turtle Rock. I've seen flippers there. I've seen mirror there before. That's a very nasty place to put it. And we do have the Titan's Mitt in a Swamp Palace, so this is going to open up most of the rest of the world for them. So I feel after Swamp, you immediately go to Meyer.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have been talking about possibly being in go mode, but I don't know if Keku is comfortable with Master Sword Ganon. It is a difficult fight if you haven't practiced it.
I think what Keku is going to do is he's going to, even when he's in go mode, he's going to check chests that aren't very far out of the way. Just to check for a sword upgrade if he's not comfortable with Master Sword Ganon. And even if you're comfortable with doing Master Sword Ganon, it just may be something you don't want to do, because Tempered Sword speeds up the Ganon fight so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that big key, he will need to run back upstairs.
The fun glitch stairs. I know you can avoid that if you key dash into it, but I don't know of any bootless strat to avoid that.
And I'm sure with his sword situation, Keku's not unhappy to see more health.
Yeah, and he's still sitting on green mail too, so green mail and Master Sword, even with those silver arrows, it's not something that he would be looking forward to facing Ganon in his current get-up here.
Oh, not at all. It's almost like fighting Ganon under low percent conditions. It's pretty close. Because there's also no half magic yet, and there's the book. There's the book that is going to get them able to go into a desert palace the front way and check the and check them, the tablets. So we might actually see... Oh, we might actually see him take Gary's lunchbox on the tour as well, because he does have the capability to do that now.
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to do, depending on whether boots are required or whether he needs to go searching for a medallion.
I could see, because what does that open up? That opens up hammer pegs, that opens up the frog, the purple chest, the Bombos medallion. It opens up a handful of items. It does take a while to check them.
Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave.
I think you actually want to try to delay Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave as well.
And it looks like we have the return of Fricker22's stream.
Yes, we do.
So it will be interesting to try to figure out what he's actually been up to.
How much progress we've made.
Keku might be just going and picking up that medallion while he's nearby, which is a good idea. It will avoid backtracking in case it's needed for Meyer.
Oh, absolutely. I would think picking up that would be a good idea. He may have just changed his mind. He might check Hype Cave first.
Looks like we have a mail upgrade in the Waterfall Cave.
So that's where that's been the whole time.
Typical Hype Cave for V26.
More like Resident Sleeper Cave.
And now it does look like he's going to make his way and pick up that medallion.
So that means if he's picking up this medallion now, he is committed to not going into Palace of Darkness. Fricker finding his good return.
It's possible that Keku would swim to the Waterfall Cave from here. But it doesn't look like he's opting to do that.
Since he's already checked Zora, it's honestly a pretty low-value play. He may go into Mire first, and then possibly try to combine that with the North Dark World chest, because he's not gone to Graveyard Cliff Cave or King's Tomb, and he may wish to combine that with Catfish and potentially the Mushroom as well.
It did look like Fricker22 has 5 crystals on their menu.
Just some couch cash in the Mire shed. And Fricker is going into Ice Palace.
So I wonder if that means he finished Desert Palace.
It looks like he has a Blue Mail and Master Sword. So we are still on Master Sword. And he is clearing Ice Palace, so this is a little bit of a gamble on his end, but it is a crystal dungeon. He does need to clear it anyway. But you'll see a lot of runners try to put off Ice Palace as long as possible, because it tends to not be a very valuable dungeon. And I've definitely seen a lot of runners get upset when there is something important, such as a hammer or boots, or especially a fire rod inside of Ice Palace.
So desert is not boots locked.
So because of that, he will be able to complete this dungeon. I could see him digging out desert to try to find something that would help him with Mire, such as a mail upgrade. And he does flip the switch, so here is Fricker's attempt at the Ice Palace bomb jump.
And this is his last bomb, so...
He gets it. Nothing doing so far in the desert. He does need to come here because it is a crystal. Now he's going to check the desert ledge item, which is just some pocket change.
Yeah, I don't think any of us caught the medallion required for Mire. And given that Fricker22 is checking items in Ice Palace and has not cleared it yet, it may be the case that it's Ether.
If it's Ether to get into Mire, I think you really have to start thinking about Turtle Rock. Of course, you'll check Hookshot Cave and so forth before going up there, but it's definitely something you need to think about. So Keku about to fight Land Mullas with silver arrows. If it's done correctly, watching the Land Mulla fight with silver arrows is just beautiful. Gets 2 of them. Still a great boss fight.
Yeah,
Lining up those bow and arrow shots on Land Mullas is not at all easy. Takes a lot of practice to get consistent at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the tricky thing is, Landmo 1 and Landmo 2 have slightly different timings, so you might get one down and not have the other one.
Looks like we have an Ice Palace play, so it appears that both of these runners are doing everything that they can to delay Dark Death Mountain just in case they need to head into Turtle Rock. Which is definitely a respectable play. It's a gamble either way, just because Ice Palace takes so long to clear for just 3 items. They do need to clear Ice Palace anyway, but checking the back half of Ice Palace, and we have an Ice Rod in Ice Palace, so this may bring Turtle Rock to Fricker22's attention.
So it does look like our runners are tied in crystals and fairly close on items. So this has become a close race.
Oh, certainly. The big question that's looming in my mind and probably in the runners' minds is regarding Turtle Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for Keku, probably looking for some sort of equipment upgrade along the way here.
And Fricker22 about to go into a cold stare. So because he has no bombos, he needs to make every fire rod shot count, and he won't have any. Master Sword Cold Stare can be a terrifying fight. Because every time he gets bopped by one of those icicles with his blue mail, it's 1 heart. Every time Cold Stare bodies him, it's 3 hearts gone. I think this is great use of his blue potion here to be able to get Cold Stare in the corner. Very well done fight.
Yeah, on our other stream, it looks like Keku is having a little bit of trouble with the Ice Palace bomb jump.
It can be difficult to align for it, just because to make the most common visual cue for it work, you do need to be on the very last pixel that you can stand on. And he does get it. But the Ice Palace bomb jump, as easy as these runners make it look, it's very, very difficult to learn.
Yeah, now he just has to be very careful because he's down to half a heart. He did clutch out the bomb jump on his last opportunity, because if he fell, that would have been it. Now, there are some anti-fairies around here, but he'll have to be very careful until he gets to them.
If he can make it down to the 6th basement, he can actually head up through that small key door that you go back, or the big key door rather, that you go backwards through. Because he has the blue crystal switches down, he can actually fall down those holes and go into a room that has 3 fairies in it.
Yep, that's a great safety to be aware of. I'm not sure if he knows about it. There's a lot of runners who don't, but if he does, that'd be a great place for him to go.
No, absolutely. I've had to use it a couple of times.
Oh, definitely. Me as well.
Way to get out of a jam. And it looks like the chat has made us aware that Ether is the pendant that's not the pendant, the medallion that's required for a Misery Mire. So you really need to start considering Turtle Rock soon, and especially with Dark Death Mountain. That's a total of 2, 6, 7, 12 items total up there.
Yep, absolutely. Especially since they picked up the Ice Rod here. They know they can fully clear Turtle Rock.
Wouldn't it be something if Trinex had Ether?
It really would be. It looks like we might be getting a double-chested fairy check here from Fricker22.
That's valid too. Because after finding those mitts in the Swamp Palace, that double-chested fairy kind of went in the back of everybody's minds. So it's really, at this point, a race to find Ether.
Yeah, and there are still many places to check. We talked about Palace of Darkness before having 5 items, and that could possibly be it as well.
I actually think Fricker might make the play to Palace of Darkness after checking the double-chested fairy, because he's right there. Has the Pyramid Ledge been checked yet?
I don't believe Keku has been there, so maybe Fricker is trying to route that in here as well. That's definitely a nice way to combine some checks.
Keku with his Ice Rod, so now that will hopefully make him aware that Turtle Rock is an option. It looks like Fricker has not checked the pyramid ledge, and it is just some couch cash. Double-chested fairy having just some love.
Yeah, so we'll see where Fricker decides to go from here. That Dark Death Mountain play. Oh, no, he's going back through his portal.
I think Dark Death Mountain is the right play. Like, Dark Death Mountain into Turtle Rock. Because I think the only other real places it can be are Palace of Darkness. It's interesting. Fricker is not going to Palace of Darkness. He may be going to Catfish.
Yeah, and he might actually mirror and refill his bottles while he's on the way here.
That would be a great idea. Doesn't look like he's going to, though. Looks like he's just going straight through. He may actually be starting to feel time pressure because we are 76 minutes into the seed. And other than this location for Ether, the seed has been fairly generous.
That does often seem to be the case, though. You get a very generous seed, but then you're searching for your go mode item for like half an hour.
We've all been there. Even on old logics, we've been there.
Yeah, Carissa, Eastern is cleared out.
Fricker's making the play for Death Mountain, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually commits and goes independent Turtle Rock. It would behoove him to do so. They're both running out of options, really.
Yeah, if he hadn't checked Ether yet, it might have been worthwhile to climb Death Mountain on this side and then go through the Turtle Rock portal. But I mean, this is fine too.
That depends on if he's going to check Spike Cave, because he might just go. Super Bunny Cave to Hookshot Cave, Mirror to check the tablet, and then go to Spike Cave, and then go back to Turtle Rock that way. But if he does that, it would be best to open the portal and open up Turtle Rock so he doesn't have to go the other way. Keku needs to be careful. He's running very low on health, and he only has green mail, so another hit from him will kill him. But he does manage to clutch it out.
Yeah, that's not the easiest fight with green mail and Master Sword. So that was green mail fight.
And it's basically low percent conditions, and even finishing low percent is an accomplishment. Bombos was on Lake Hylia Island.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think Fricker had picked up Bombos, so if Turtle Rock has Bombos, it would not be an option for him.
It's Quake. So we have vanilla medallions. V-Torp.
Is this even randomized?
Tempered in Hookshot Cave. I'm sure Fricker is thrilled to see that. So that will make the Ganon fight relatively easy.
So no Ether here on East Dark Death Mountain.
Did Fricker open up Turtle Rock?
It looks like he might be heading that way.
I don't think he... Did he? I can't tell.
He didn't open it yet. I think he's looked at it twice.
Open up Turtle Rock.
And now he actually is making the decision to open it up for good here.
This is a decision that could decide the race. It could be the case if Keku goes into Palace of Darkness after checking Double-Chested Fairy. This could be very interesting. It would come down to who gambles on the correct pendant dungeon.
And honestly, both of them are good plays. It's just a matter of which one pays off.
Oh, absolutely. Based on the progression that we've seen so far, I would give a slight edge to Turtle Rock, but it's at this point, pretty much a coin toss. Dark Palace is green pendant, and the chat is pointing out that Ether could be there. Ether could be at the pedestal.
Yep, Ether could always be at the pedestal. Both of our runners had the book, but we have not seen a check.
Well, the book was in such a remote place compared to where the pedestal is, and they've both already finished Skull Woods. Keku might be doing a pedestal check, though. He's headed up there. He may be doing a ped check before going into... No, it doesn't look like it.
He might actually be doing the Smith and Hammer Peg Cave.
That's entirely possible. We were talking about that earlier. There are a lot of options for where this Ether can be. And we have boots! Boots in Turtle Rock. So now Fricker does not have to worry about the big key being on the torch in Ganon's tower.
It'll definitely speed him up from here on out.
But it will definitely be interesting to see which play pays off, because there are a lot of different routes you could go, such as the Frog Tour and the Purple Chest, and Palace of Darkness, and Turtle Rock, all of which are about equally lucrative in terms of the number of items.
So when our runners were in Desert Palace, we saw the mushroom on the torch. Wouldn't it be something if the mushroom was a fetch quest for the Ether Medallion?
Oh, certainly. And Keku, realizing he was about to make a big routing mistake with the Mad Batter, because he does indeed have a hammer. Checking Mad Batter without hammer can cause a really annoying detour.
There's Ether. So Fricker22 making the play to Turtle Rock, getting his boots and getting the Ether Medallion and heading into go mode.
So at this point, unless Keku heads into Turtle Rock right now, which I don't see that happening since he's taking care of Gary's lunchbox, this is Fricker22's race to lose. Both of them played really well so far. It was just a question of whose gamble paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we were saying, Turtle Rock is always a good play when you have everything to go in and beat it. But it just could have as easily been in the Batcave, and that's what makes Randomizer so great.
Oh, absolutely.
Fricker had a really nice room 2 of Mire there.
That room is really difficult to optimize. Just couch cash in Gary's lunchbox.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Keku is trying to clear up the overworld before committing to a pendant dungeon.
It's definitely a valid play because the overworld locations do get you items faster. It's just we know it's the wrong play. This is definitely a defensible play. I feel that all of the plays, such as cleaning up overworld first, or going to Palace of Darkness first, going to Turtle Rock first, those are all fine plays. It just happens to be that the item that he needs is in a location that he's very, very far away from.
That big key in Meyer is being a little bit elusive for Fricker22.
Especially if the big key is at the vanilla location, it can be a real bear to get to because it's the most time-consuming location to get to. And there it is. An interesting routing decision by Fricker here, paying off, so he does not have to go through that big room with all the torches.
Yeah, and with the bow and silver arrows, this should be a pretty quick finish to Misery Meyer.
And tempered. And he has the cape, too, if he wants to do cape dash strats. Keku looks like he is making the play to Palace of Darkness. Another thing that's noteworthy is he is still on Green Mail. Looks like he may not be going there. He was headed that direction. He might check the graveyard.
Yeah, it does look like he's heading to Catfish, maybe refilling potions along the way. I don't think he has any left, but no, he's walking right on by. Keku has not checked the Waterfall Cave. We know that will give him a mail upgrade if he does mirror and check that, but it's not the ether he's looking for.
And Fricker22 looks like he is downing his last potion. I do foresee him making a trip to the Witch's Hut to buy potions before G-Tower. Oh, that was an interesting little scrolling glitch that occurred on Fricker's side.
So unfortunately, Keku mirrored and did not go into the Waterfall Cave, but he did flew immediately up to Death Mountain, so he is making his way to where he needs to go. And unfortunately getting blocked by the Dead Rock along the way.
It's very common for that Dead Rock to block. So Fricker, with his 7 crystals, will be heading up to Death Mountain. So it's time to play everybody's favorite game show. There are 22 chests in Ganon's Tower. One of them will have the big key. Which one do you think it will be?
I think I'm going to go with Bob's chest, number 14.
I will go with number 10.
We've got a couple tile rooms in the chat.
Well, of course, everybody wants to see this race go longer, so of course they want to see tile room. And yes, both of these runners have been playing pretty well this entire seed. Please follow both of these runners.
Yeah, they definitely put on a good match for us today.
Keku finding his tempered as well. He's probably pretty thrilled to find that.
Yeah, if you do want to get technical, Carissa, there are 23 item locations in the basement, but one of them cannot have the big key. And the big chest can be required if it has the bow or hookshot or an item leading to either item. It could also have the second sword, I guess, technically.
Is there anything stopping it from having red cane? I mean, it obviously depends on the...
No.
It depends on which dungeons are crystals.
Yeah, he could have the red cane and the key be on the right side, absolutely.
Hookshot is needed to reach validation chest unless you know how to hover.
Right, so hookshot, you don't need hookshot to reach the big chest on the right side. And technically you can reach it on the left side with bomb jumps, but that would be a logic sequence break. So it does look like Keku is cleaning up the overworld spots on Death Mountain before going into Turtle Rock, hopefully.
This is the right play. This is the right play from his perspective. We just know that it's not going to pay off. And we do have a small key on the torch, so the boots were not required to complete the tower.
Given that Keku is stocking up on blue potions, I'm hoping that means he's planning to make his way into Turtle Rock.
Doesn't look like it. He may be... Are we going to get a pedestal check? It looks like we are getting a pedestal check first.
Pedestal hype.
But we know it can't be anything important.
It could be something fun, like the last sword or the last male upgrade. But nothing required to beat the seed.
I've had to deal with male upgrades in tournament races before. It was not fun. And a bomb capacity upgrade. I do still think that checking the pedestal is a good play here, just to get peace of mind that it's not required.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, he could go mode pod and Turtle Rock if it was there. So it's not a bad play. He's just trying to check all his bases before he makes a commitment. And it does look like he is heading up Death Mountain here. Looks like he's going up the left side, so maybe checking Ether Tablet?
I don't blame him for this either. It looks like we are about to go into the randomizer room. So does chest 10 have the big key? It does not. It has a burrito. 11 with a validation rupee. 12 with a health refill for Fricker. 13 with a bomb upgrade. It looks like we may be going to the basement. And he does have the right side checked as well, so there's only 5 more chests left that can have this big key.
We do have some hope for that tile room. That was the popular opinion of chat.
And your guess was Bob Chest, correct? That's about
I did say Bob Chest, yep. Looks like Keku picked up half magic.
No, we have a small key in Bob chest, so it's either past Armos 2 or it is in the tile room.
Could be the tile room dream, guys.
Fricker having a little bit of trouble with those Armos Knights getting out of sync, but he recovers nicely. So we're about to see if this big key is in tile room. We have a butter sword, and we have a big key back there as well. So it was in chest number 21 by the way he checks. So he is headed upstairs, and with a butter sword and silver arrows, this Ganon fight should be extremely easy.
So it does look like Heku is walking over to the east side of Death Mountain, and since he has already checked Dark Death Mountain, the Hookshot Cave, and Super Bunny Cave, I think he might be making the play.
It's such a tough play to go into Turtle Rock. Even though there are a lot of items there, it takes a long time to check them.
Oh no.
Oh no. He doesn't have any backup either, so he'll need to climb Death Mountain again.
I was worried for a second that he was going to choose something else, but now he is coming back up here.
He is at this point committing to it.
Fricker's working his way through the gauntlet. A couple nice rooms here.
A bit low on magic, so Fire Rod not really an option for him. Fire Rod shots make these Stalfos rooms a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely my favorite strat for going through them.
I see a lot of new players that aren't confident with their Fire Rod shots using Bombos. Bombos is a good consistent strat, even though it is a bit slow for some of these rooms, especially the room 2 with the Stalfos.
Yep, absolutely. You know, you use Bombos, you know it's going to take 8 seconds, but after that's over, the room will be clear. So it's consistent, and if you have trouble with it, it will get you through.
One important note that could come back to haunt Fricker is his bottles are all empty, and he only has 4.5 hearts left. So it would be wise of him to be cognizant of his health.
Yeah, and there are a few small magic pots and large magic pots through here, but I don't know if he knows where all of them are, and it still will have to be carefully managed from here on out.
He will need to grab a couple in order to be able to complete these rooms. I think he actually may need the help of a magic drop as well, especially if he uses his red cane in this room, which it looks like he is. Wow, what a clutch fairy drop. That fairy drop from the Wizrobe could not have been better timed, but he is out of magic.
Yeah, so I think his only option is actually going to be using the lamp to light these torches after getting both of the small magic pots in this room.
I believe so. I believe he is going to need to use the lantern for all 4. Because he has no half magic. Meanwhile, Keku in the torch room needs to hurry up with this void out with the hook shot, because that door is going to come closing down soon. But he does make it on through.
So I think he wants to try to farm, but he already killed... it seems like he's backtracking.
Yeah, he is backtracking. He may not be confident in his ability to complete that room. And that shutter door is not going to open, so he will have one chance at this torch room. Otherwise, he is going to need to mirror out and leave and re-enter the tower to get all the magic to respawn.
Yeah, the good news is it's perfectly possible to do it with the lamp, but he will only have one opportunity.
It was just a spate of unfortunate luck that he could not get any drops from the enemies.
So it looks like Keku made the choice to leave Turtle Rock after getting the boots.
He may think that boots could be at a place such as Bonk Rocks or any other location that requires boots to get to. It's entirely possible.
So Fricker, he's not going to be able to make this, I don't think. Oh, he just barely did. Okay, great.
So he is on his way up to floor 6 and will be able to do this final torch room with the fire rod.
All right, Fricker is back on track. Unfortunately, Keku is going to grab that mushroom that I said might be a troll earlier, and it is a troll, but we don't know what he's going to get trolled by.
He could get trolled by a male upgrade.
That would be the best case scenario, I think.
We saw almost all the items in Ganon's tower, so there aren't a whole lot of items left out there. It could be there. It's more likely in Pod, but it could be here. And what do we have? Just a nickel. Fricker cleaning up Moldorm 2. Will he validate? He will validate and finds a compass for his trouble.
So interestingly, Keku left with the boots, but I don't think they checked the Bonk Rocks or the King's Tomb.
He did not. So it's very interesting to see him back on Death Mountain after finding those boots. If he was going to leave, you would think he would commit his mind to saying that the item that he needs, the ether, is not here. So it's very interesting to see him go off of Death Mountain just to check that one item and then come all the way back up here.
Yeah, I think he's just feeling a little bit trolled at the moment, and he knows he feels behind because he's been looking for the same item for so long.
Just anytime in a seed, especially like this, that's been so giving, it's really when you hit about the 90-minute mark and you're not in go mode when you really start to feel like you're behind.
Yeah, and Fricker had a nice Aga 2 fight here. I think he had a triple in there, so that was a really nice fight. And with that butter sword and silver arrows, this should be a pretty straightforward fight. He doesn't have any safeties, but if he does this well, he won't need them.
I actually just checked the IRC, and it looks like there was some inclement weather on Fricker's side. Did Keku mark his place? No, he did not.
Fricker's already on phase 3. Just 4 silver arrows once he reaches phase 4. And Ganon will go down.
With Butter Sword, his health bar just melts. Fricker missing with the first shot. Gets Torch Glitch with the Fire Rod. Getting Torch Glitch with a Fire Rod shot is pretty difficult.
Yeah, especially from across the room like that. That was really nicely done.
And getting a double to finish off the fight. Great fight. Very efficient. Very efficient from Fricker. And he is going to be crowned the winner of this race. And he will move to 1-1. And Fricker22 has done in SRL with a time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, 50 seconds. We'll see if we can get him in here for an interview.
Yeah, he put together a really nice run. I think he made the call to go to Turtle Rock at the right time. For what we were able to see, it was some nice execution, some nice strats, and some good decisions with his routing.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't really see too many routing mistakes from him. And Keku, with his ether, is finally entering go mode. So it looks like he is willing to interview, so once we can get an administrator to move him over, then we will see what he has to say.
GG, Fricker.
Congratulations, you played a really good game.
Thank you. I didn't know if my stream went down. I'd lost power to the router as it's storming over here, so that got me super nervous trying to get everything going and play at the same time.
It went down for, I would say, about 30 minutes, but you were able to get back up at a point where it was very exciting to watch both of you race to try to find this ether tablet. It really came down to the decision of whether I go into Turtle Rock or Palace of Darkness, or clean out Gary's lunchbox and all of the other items associated with it, such as hammer pegs, Bombos tablet. All three of them were about equally valid plays, so it just mostly came down to whether you would go for the correct one, and that's part of the luck in Randomizer, and the luck turned out to be in your favor.
I appreciate it. It's actually funny that you say that, because I was stepping towards T-Rock, and then I went to walk away, and I'm like, I don't know if I should go T-Rock or Pod. I'm like, well, that's Randomizer for you, and I ended up going to T-Rock and just making that lucky gamble.
Because the race was actually very, very close up until the two of you decided to go your separate ways. Keku decided to clean out the overworld locations first before eventually going into Turtle Rock, and he is currently in a Misery Mire finishing up his 7th crystal, so he should be done in a matter of around 15 minutes.
Awesome. So yeah, I for some reason I felt behind going through that, and then especially up to GT when I panicked a little bit and I ran out of magic, and I actually wasn't sure to do at that point.
Yeah, but you worked it out that you had enough to do it with the lamp, and you did make it through the door just in time, so it worked out for you.
Doing that room with the lantern is always scary.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun seed. I got a lot of good items right away, and of course it came down to that go mode item of ether, and just searching as many places as I could and not wanting to go into Pod.
So what do you feel of you did especially right? Like, what went especially well for you this seed, you feel?
I felt like my routing was pretty good. What I tried to do this turn was just follow the logic as best as I could, and there's a lot of times in prior seeds where I would sequence break, and sometimes that led me to places that I shouldn't go. So I tried to follow the logic, and I felt the routing was pretty good. And a lot of my boss runs are pretty good as well.
You had great boss fights in general.
I appreciate it.
So this puts you to a 1-1 in your group, which is exactly what you needed after your loss to Mal in the first round.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate one. A lot of mistakes. I actually marked my my Misery Mire with the wrong tablet that I needed, and it took me forever to figure that out.
We've all been there in this game and in other games.
Yeah, it was super fun. My heart was pounding the whole time just because I know my stream and everything went down, and I was trying to reset everything up and play at the same time and not lose any progress, and just not knowing how far ahead he was than I was.
And props for you to playing through that.
I appreciate it. It's been a while. That's actually my first win, so I'm pretty excited about that. Practice is paying off.
And this defeat will also put Keku to 1-1, so we have a lot of 1-1s in your group.
Yeah, I saw that before I started. Everybody was like 1-1.
I'm actually going to check on your group real quick after this. I think after this win over Keku, everybody in your group has a loss.
Yeah, I saw that. I did also hear that everyone in our group is having some really close games and finishes.
Oh, this group has been incredible to watch. Every single race has been close. This is a really well-balanced group, and this could be one of those groups where it would be really exciting to see a 5-way 2-2 tie.
Yeah, that would be pretty insane.
A 5-way race off. It's definitely possible with this group.
That'd be pretty fun, but that's Randomizer for you. So how did we start? Did we have similar pathways, or did we split for most of the time and take different?
Oh no, not at all. Oh no, not at all. You guys were completely divergent from the start of the run. You two even started from different locations. One of you started at Sanctuary, and the other of you started at Link's house. Your routes didn't really sync up until you were in go mode. This was a really cool seed to watch. From a commentator's perspective as well, just because there were so many paths through the seed. It was so wide open. It probably didn't feel open at the beginning, but there were several different paths that you could take to actually get yourself in go mode.
Yeah, it felt like we were in the dark world pretty early on, so there was a lot that opened up for sure.
It was actually very difficult to even follow the race and determine who was ahead until it was down to who goes to Turtle Rock for Ether first.
Yeah, I'm pretty psyched that I stuck it out with Turtle Rock, because I almost turned away before I went there.
I know exactly how it is. When you have to make a decision of which pennant dungeon you go into, you just have to commit.
Yeah, that's true. Version 26 though, man. Skull, Misery Mire, and Pendant T-Rock.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'm glad it was a fun race to watch and it was close.
Not a bad menu time either. Your menus were solid.
Oh, I didn't even. What was it at? Like 6 minutes?
4:29.
Oh, that's not too bad.
4:29 for a 105-minute seed. That's
it's very solid.
A little under 2.5 minutes per hour. I think a really good menu time generally is about 2 minutes per in-game hour, so that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of clutch parts that I had in different dungeons, like the Gannis Tower with the magic, and then when I was in Ice Palace, I typically do the bomb jump, and I only had one bomb to do it with at that time.
Oh, that was a clutch moment. Getting that with one... Going into Ice Palace with one bomb is super scary, and you pulled it off.
Yeah, I felt pretty good. I appreciate it.
So your next match is actually against Quiz Bowl tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern. How do you feel about your matchup with Quiz Bowl tomorrow?
I actually, when I was at work today, I actually watched some of Quiz Bowl's prior seeds that he ran, just to see the routing that he took and how he did. So I'm trying to prepare myself like anybody else would, but I definitely think it's going to be a good and fun match.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with all of the competitors in your particular group being so evenly matched.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players in this group.
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of very strong players in this tournament. Just by the nature of only 100 people can be in the main tournament, you're going to have some very strong runners in this bracket. I mean, look at some of the people in the secondary tournament. Like Vtorp is in the tournament, or Vtorp's in secondary. Scooge is in secondary. Breasticle is in secondary. There are some big names in this tournament.
Yeah, definitely some high caliber players for sure. Even in the secondary, like you were saying. Is Kiku in GT yet, or?
He is currently in. He's currently climbing a Death Mountain to get back into GT. He decided to clear out the overworld spots with Gary's Lunchbox. And like I had stated before, all 3 of the paths that you could go, the Gary's Lunchbox overworld, Palace of Darkness, and T-Rock, were all about equally weighted in terms of time versus number of locations checked. So it really just came down to who made the correct arbitrary decision.
Yeah, the randomizer way. It's kind of funny that you say that, because I was actually, I kept saying go to pod next in my head. And when I got down to that point, still looking for ether, I actually remembered I could do Dark Death Mountain. And once I climbed up that, I'm like, well, I'm right here. I have Quake to open up T-Rock. I might as well do it. And I got lucky.
We were actually surprised because we actually saw both of you go by Palace of Darkness several times, and we thought one of you were going to make the play there. Especially after checking Double-Chested Fairy. We were thinking both of you were going to go to Palace of Darkness, but Keku never went to Palace of Darkness either.
That was actually my initial plan after Fat Fairy, but then I remembered Dark Death Mountain, and that's what brought me up there.
And that wound up being the play that won you the game. And we were talking about Turtle Rock the entire time, just because the game gave you all of the items necessary to explore all of Turtle Rock except for Trinex. Which is one of the reasons why I think it's very nerve-wracking when you find a very early red cane.
Yeah, I put that into play too, and like I said before, I was just trying to do my best to follow the routing that I should have been on with the sequences.
Oh, absolutely, and you're able to put all the pieces together. And Keku did not play badly either. Oh, it looks like Did he not get the big key?
No,
he went upstairs without the big key.
He got a small key, and he thought, well, I got a small key, let's go. Yeah, I think he's really rattled about his route.
And I can certainly understand why.
He is going the left side, though, so he will get the big key slightly faster. So Fricker, not only did you have good boss fights, but you also had some really nice rooms, like your second room of Mire. Have you put in a lot of practice to things like that, like certain rooms?
Absolutely. I have them all on save states, and I go through them consistently to make sure that I can do it well, and I just go over and over it before every seed I do.
Absolutely. We did notice you spending some time with the practice ROM.
Yeah, that's been a lifesaver.
Oh, absolutely. Being able to practice even simple things like Gauntlet or even things like Cold Stare or Vitreous under less than ideal conditions.
Yeah, it makes it fun when you can set, what what armor and what weapons you're going to fight those bosses with, just in case you get put in that situation.
Because even fighting earlier bosses like Blind with under low percent conditions, being Green Mail and 7 Hearts, is incredibly stressful.
Yeah, I think when I got to Blind, I only had a few hearts with Green Mail, and I beat him without getting hit. But of course, at that time, my system went down. So
yeah, that's really too bad we didn't get to see that fight, because it sounds like you especially played out of your mind in the mid game.
Yeah, once I started getting the right items, I felt like I started to produce a little bit better than earlier on, as I was a little nervous.
I was afraid I wasn't going to be here either, because there's been nasty weather all over the Midwest.
Oh yeah, when I was getting off work, I'm like, oh great, my stream's going to go down right in the middle of it, and sure enough, it did.
That's what I was afraid of too. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to be here for you.
That would have been a tragedy.
Keku is going down to the Armos room, so he is going to find this big key, and he will be headed upstairs. Keku taking out Armos 2, he will find his butter sword and his big key. I bet that was a great surprise to find after Armos 2 was that butter sword.
Well, yeah, I mean, the jump between the third sword and the butter sword is not too big, but yeah, it was definitely a surprise.
It definitely makes the Ganon fight quite a bit faster.
It does, and at that point, I didn't have anything else in my bottles or anything, so I was trying to be careful.
Oh, absolutely. That was another thing that came up during the race for both of you. Was with all this money, I was thinking you may make a couple of extra trips to the witch's hut for potions, because money was just everywhere in this seed.
It was, and it's kind of ironic because I usually start out at Sanctuary and do Houlihan Room, and this was the very first seed that I didn't.
We were talking about that as well. I personally like to do Houlihan at the start of every seed, just in case. But with that 300 rupee, very easily accessible, it turned out in your favor. Keku did not Chris Houlihan either.
Yeah, every time I seem to do it, I just get loads of money and I waste time. So I just figured, hey, why not try it this time? And I guess it worked out.
It's definitely a runner preference thing. You can save time from it, but you'll never know when you get one of the seeds where even getting bomb money can be hard. And some players just like the comfort of that guarantee that you will have bomb money.
Oh, absolutely. I think the reason I like it the most is just the safety for the money, but also the routing. Because after you leave, you end up in your house, and then you can go right to the south of the town and then buy bombs right there to do everything else. That and depending on when the game gives you flippers, a 300 rupee will also let you do after checking Ice Rod Cave. You can fake flipper to Hobo and check Lake Hylia, and then after that you can reverse fake flipper to check Zora right away. It allows you to do a very early Zora check. Yeah, absolutely. The Zora check is the biggest reason why I like to Chris Houlihan. Because it definitely comes in handy having that extra cash. It can be very difficult to route back to Zora if you find progression items before him. At that point, I usually just like to wait to catfish and then mirror over. Makes sense. Keku getting a clutch fairy drop in the Wizrobe 2 room.
I think Fricker got one of those too.
I think he actually got it off of the same enemy. I did, I remember that. Yeah, both of you got that fairy drop, which wound up coming at a very critical time because both of you were coincidentally very low on health going into that room. And another noteworthy thing is I think Keku's still on Green Tunic.
Yeah, he is.
But I'm sure he's got butter and silvers.
Yes, he does. He also, I believe, still has a couple of potions. He may have used them. I'm not sure if the tracker is updated, but I believe he still has at least one blue potion, so he shouldn't be too worried about Ganon. Especially since with his butter sword and any sort of hookshot strategy, should only have to deal with one round of bats.
Any chance he got half magic?
He did.
Where was it at?
Correct? Do you remember where that was? I actually don't remember where Half
Might have
Magic
been
was.
Spike Cave.
I think you're right. I think that's where it was. And Keku getting to Agatu, so we'll see. We'll see if he can put up the same kind of amazing geometry that you did. Your geometry in that fight was very good.
It was some odd patterns, that's for sure.
Looks like Keku's struggling a little bit with these patterns. They can be difficult. And the longer the fight goes, the harder it gets when the clones get out of sync with the real Aga. I've had some... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that can definitely be very difficult if you can be in situations where you can only get the real Aga to shoot, and he will do blue balls half the time, so it can take a while.
Thankfully, we didn't see too many blue balls this time. So Keku going to the Ganon fight. He can take 2 hits from any attack that is not getting bodied by Ganon, because getting bodied by Ganon with no armor will do 6 hearts of damage. Dashing into Ganon. Props to Keku for swagging out. And he is through Fire Bat phase. And Keku missing Torch Glitch. With Buttersword Silver's Torch Glitch usually doesn't matter. And Keku finishing off Ganon with a nice double hit, so he will finish as well.
Keku finished with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 33 seconds.
GG to both of our runners. It was very well played by both runners. This seed was just a matter of which pendant dungeon do you gamble on. And Keku just happened to choose the wrong route. So we'll see if we can get him in here as well.
And Alvi with the hype Link Between Worlds music.
Oh, absolutely. A Link Between Worlds has brilliant music.
Hello?
Hello, Keku.
Hey. So...
That was a really tough break for you.
I made so many mistakes. That was fun.
Not as many as you think. The race really came down to just the two of you both looking for ether, and Fricker just happened to go to the correct pendant dungeon. When it came down to finding ether, it mostly was a gamble of doing Turtle Rock versus doing Palace of Darkness versus doing the rest of the overworld, and all three of them were equally lucrative options, and he just happened to choose the right one.
Yeah. What was it? I was like an hour and a half trying to get to find ether. Was it? I forget. It felt that way, but I was like, okay, I don't want to waste my time going through all of Turtle Rock. So if I do the overworld, then it should be okay. And then yeah. I think if I didn't think about the boots, when I first found the boots, I was like, okay, I can go straight to back to Desert Palace, and then grab the mushroom, and then go to the witch's hut, and then grab the hopefully the ether there. But yeah, dang.
Absolutely, it was a valid play. I completely understand why you would make that play. It just happened to be that there were a whole bunch of different routes you could go that were all equally lucrative, but only one would find you the correct item that you needed to finish the game.
Yeah. Oh well. It was fun though.
So this
at the end.
this loss will put you to 1-1 in your group.
Yeah.
But your group is actually pretty even right now in terms of record, and every single person in your group does have a loss. So no one is out as of yet, and I believe the way the math works, 3-1 is almost 100% safe, if not 100% safe. So how do you feel about being able to get 2 wins out of your remaining matches to be able to make the bracket?
As long as I make the right gambles and don't die like I did so many times. The raccoon at Total Rock, he hated me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That was certainly to watch.
I took my frustration out on him. I'm like, you bastard. But I feel confident, but it's you know, it all, as every race I've seen and every race I've done, it always comes down to the right gambles, and if you make the right one, then that'll definitely.
Oh, certainly. Every single race in your group has been really close, and a lot of the races have come down to whoever takes the correct gamble.
Yeah.
And you had some really nice highlights in your run too. Your fight against Cold Stare was just great.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. I was honestly panicking. My heart was beating so fast.
Absolutely. You were fighting Cold Stare under low percent conditions, which is very, very difficult. Cold Stare is definitely one of the things that keeps people from finishing low percent.
Yeah. But you know, when you're put into a situation, you just gotta you have to adapt, you know. Oh man. Were we on like the same route sort of? It's just that he Fricker went to went through Total Rock more than I did.
Once you were looking for ethers when your routes really synced up, he got the boot, but before then your 2 routes were completely different. It was actually really difficult to tell who was ahead.
Oh, okay. Dang. Must have been a great race to watch. I gotta check out the VOD when I can then.
Oh, absolutely. It was amazing. The race was really interesting to watch from our perspective, just because your routes were so different.
Oh. Well, I had fun. Thanks for the race. GG, Fricker.
Yeah, GG.
Oh, absolutely.
I gotta schedule my match with Maul soon.
And that should be exciting to watch as well. So, Fricker, Keku, any final words before we hand it over to our next race?
Raccoons are bad.
I just want to say GG again, and I appreciate all the love from the community and the commentators. I'm sure they did a great job. So thank you once again, and GG.
Oh yeah, by the way, another word about like the staff and stuff. GGs to them, and also the people who highlight the videos. The videos are up on YouTube, but the ones that come out, like, usually it takes a day or two for the VOD to be highlighted to everybody. So once they get uploaded, they'll be on YouTube, and you can check them out on there. We have the main tournament and the secondary tournament all on YouTube right now.
So with that, I think we can hand it over to our Randomizer Mania 3 channel, where we have an exciting match between Hazu Kitty and Demon RHK in Group B. This is a very pivotal match for Demon RHK, because if he loses this match, he is out of the tournament at 1-3.
Yep, and just one last reminder, please follow our runners. They did a great job, put on a great show for us today.
Thanks, guys. You guys have a good night or day or morning. Bye-bye.
And have a good one, guys. See you later.